Welcome to the LBM Journal Sales Podcast, hosted by Rick Davis, the premier sales trainer and consultant in the construction supply industry. In each episode, Rick and guests explore what it takes to genuinely succeed, not just in sales and business, but in life.
All right. I am here today with Michael Goodman of Sherwood Lumber. He is the Director of Specialty Products, and Todd London, who is the Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing. Gentlemen, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us, Rick.
So let's begin with quick bios of both of you. Michael, what's your background?
Great. Well, first of all, I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Rick, for having us. Background is Sherwood Lumber is a family business. I happen to be third generation in the business. My brother and I are both in the business. My father is the CEO. My grandfather founded it. So the lumber and building materials business has been in my blood for my life. Yeah. So I've had summer internships throughout my years when I was younger or in college, in and out of the business. And after college, I went on to get my law degree and my master's degree and a master's in law and finance. I did a lot of schooling after college, and then I worked completely outside the business, doing some legal things. I worked for Bank of America in-house there, and then I was at Ernst & Young doing consulting unrelated to the lumber business. And then I jumped into the lumber business about 6-7 years ago. It was a right time, right place. And here we are 6 to 7 years later, doing many different things, but in particular, helping grow our specialty products division, which is our exterior building products, siding, decking, roofing, other and outdoor living spaces.
Yeah, so, buddy, you got into this thing right on time, because pretty soon, any more education, you were going to be too smart for this business.
That's right. I think I definitely overeducated, but it was a lot of fun. Loved learning, still love learning, and hopefully I could bring some of the stuff I've learned in school and some of my experiences to the company and to the industry.
And of course, I'm kidding. I'm just saying we don't really need to overcomplicate this business. I do think that people underestimate the sophistication of this business, and that's why we have somebody like Todd London with such a strategic mind. And Todd, tell us a little bit about your background, my brother.
Yeah, so been in building products for about 15 years. Cut my teeth in the business at a major manufacturer that I assume many would know if I mentioned their name, but did a lot on the sales side, on the strategy side, and on the program creation side. Came to Sherwood Lumber about 4 years ago. And, my major initiatives here at Sherwood have been around kind of cultural transitioning and transformation, strategic go-to-markets. And part of that works with Mikey pretty intimately. We've been building a specialty division out that we think is pretty unique and, to excuse the pun, pretty special. And that's kind of been my experience here at Sherwood Lumber. So helping the sales team on the commodity and the specialty side, developing some strategy and kind of making it a place that our employees want to come to work at.
Awesome. Well, let's get right into it. Tell us, gentlemen, a little bit about your specialty sales initiatives and what you guys are working on, what we should learn from you.
Mikey, you want me to go first, or you want to take a stab at that?
Todd, go for it.
So I guess to give a long-winded answer before I get too deep into this, I can tell you, having spent my original time in building products on the manufacturer side, I'm not sure that you could have found someone that really had more negative feelings towards two-step distribution for my first 10 years. And by all definitions now in hindsight, I can recognize that was tunnel vision. But I think at the manufacturer level, I don't think I saw that. I remember spending a lot of time in terms of demand creation and program creation, really setting up sales on a tee and feeling like, man, like these distributors, they don't get it. And like most things, I became the thing that I disliked. And it didn't take very long, about 6 months after speaking with a number of manufacturers, to sit back and say, man, these manufacturers, they don't get it. And it opens your eyes. It opens your eyes to the idea that both of these parties, regardless of how long we've been doing this for, how old our industry is, they vastly misunderstand each other. And as a result, we feel like there's a lot of opportunity left on the table. I'll give you an example specific to how we're trying to be different for ourselves to our vendors. I oftentimes ask our employees and our customers and our vendors, what is our job? Is our job to supply demand, or is our job to create demand? And the answer, in my opinion, is yes, right? There's no debate that having inventory and looking at inventory as an asset versus a liability as a two-step distributor is important. And having just-in-time inventory as a break bulk is a really big value to the value chain. And so we have to be able to supply demand. But the other thing is, I feel like for a lot of times in my previous experience, it felt as if that's where the two-stepper kind of stopped. And one thing that we realized is that we needed to be someone else that also created demand, that we weren't going to sit around and wait for an order, and that we were going to bring some additional value and branding and education to the marketplace for the brands that we represented. And so we've taken a really interesting kind of look at the marketplace in terms of strategically picking products. It's been our go-to-market. There's a lot of good strategies out there, and there's a lot of good distributors out there. And I just preface this to say that although I like my strategy, I recognize why others might work better for their situation. But for us, we wanted to be a place where we could kind of sit back and say, where do we think the market's heading, and maybe align a little early and take the path of most resistance, but take the path of most reward as well. And so we've been very, very strategic around the products that we've taken on, because we recognize that what we're going to bring on, we need to be dead on, that this is where the industry is headed, and this is what our customers, whether they know it or not yet, are going to demand. And then bring that need to the marketplace through brand marketing on social media, or drip campaigns to the trades, or AIA presentations to the architect, or contractor training or virtual trainings, depending on where you're at in COVID, to the contractor base. And what we found is that the relationships that we're able to garnish with our vendors feel meaningful. It doesn't feel like a transacted business. It feels like a partnership. I can tell you the feedback I get from our vendors end is they feel like there's something special that they're getting more from, and they can use this as a bellwether, as an example of what they've kind of tried to describe they wanted, which obviously is a great relationship builder. And to the end user, our contractors, our builders, and our dealers, it feels like a place that they can go to get good information, where they can come to rely, and they can find things that they might not be otherwise able to find. Mm-hmm. And as a result, we've really shot out of a cannon. Sherwood Specialty's only been around for 5-6 years, and it's grown 300 to 500% year over year. And we're just really excited about how that's kind of progressed.
Awesome. Michael, let's back up a little bit. Tell us a little bit about Sherwood's general mission, target audience, and where you guys work and all that stuff.
Yeah, sure. So Todd just mentioned 5 to 6 years of specialty. Prior to that, and still ongoing, is where we got started, which is in lumber, commodity framing, lumber, and plywood. We started off as modest one or two people back in the 50s, late 50s. My grandfather started then, and grew to about 10 people into the 70s. But and then from there we grew. Now we're about 85, 90. But the focus was, and still it's still a major part of our business, is the commodity lumber. So we're buying and selling from the mills to the retailers, and we're selling in bulk. Doug fir, spruce, pine, plywood, all different types of plywood, OSB. That's where we're really good at that. We know that very well, and we're growing to be very good, and we've become very good at the specialty part as well. But what's our mission? Why we come to work every single day is we'll be there with impeccable experience for our customers, our vendors, and our associates. And that's our mission. We live and die by our mission. We try as often as we can to connect our mission to our daily work and what we're all doing. And it's simple. What's impeccable mean? Impeccable is a little bit different for each scenario, and we try to define it a little bit more specifically on each of the items. But you think about our main stakeholders, our customers, our vendors, and our associates, and each of those experiences are a little bit different. But anything we do, any initiative we take on, any strategy, that's always in our mind of how that's going to perpetuate the impeccable experience, make the impeccable experience more impeccable, if you will.
Awesome.
So that's our mission, and we've done that via selling. Our main tool is selling the commodity lumber and plywood, and now the past 5 to 6 years growing our specialty. And what Todd didn't mention, what makes it unique is, I mean, he kind of mentioned is that it's new. We didn't buy a business. We didn't take on an old business. From the specialty perspective, we decided to start a brand new business of exterior products. Sherwood sold a deck here and there in the past, opportunistically, but we never had a true strategy, a true business around it. So we put a stake in the ground, we put goals, and we started executing. We hired outside salespeople. We got them. We made deals with certain brands out there, social media, marketing. All this became a big play. And it's really cool to look back, even though we still have a lot more to go. We still have a lot more to achieve. But looking back on the 5-6 years and what we've been able to accomplish from nothing, spanning out from a company that sold framing lumber, it's a big accomplishment and we're very proud of it, because commodity sales and specialty sales are two distinct animals of how products are bought and sold, and the volume they're bought and sold in, and the process they're bought and sold in. So to look back and to say, wow, we're marching down a great path with that, and it's building our future of what we want it to be, and a more diversified future for Sherwood Lumber.
So I have to comment. Either one of you can talk about this, but I think Todd's going to really want to be vocal about this. You made an interesting comment. Distributors just don't get it. Distributors say manufacturers don't get it. And I'm going to tell you something right now. The retailer says neither one of you gets it.
Nah.
And let me elaborate for a moment. I have used a term for myself in my educational process. I call it transactional dependability. And I think you've got some really powerful things to say about this, because you are trying to affect it. And I like that comment, Todd. Do we supply demand, or do we create demand? And so transactional dependability to me is this: the closer you get to the end user, the greater the sales heat. And I used to say this, and I say the better your selling skills needed to be. And boy, oh boy, did manufacturer reps take offense to that. And what I'm trying to say is that when you work for the manufacturer, let's say you sell Toyota cars. If you work for the manufacturer of Toyota, the job's done for you. Toyota dealers have contractual relationships for showrooms, inventory turns, sales volumes, customer satisfaction surveys, service capabilities and surveys, and more. If you sell Toyotas for the dealership, you've got to create every transaction anew. If you're selling, we'll pick one of your products. What's one of your specialty products you're most excited about? Pick one.
All my children are beautiful.
All your children. Yeah, you're talking to somebody about buying some composite decking product that you sell. And so, the challenge, if I'm calling in a deck builder, I've got to really get that deck builder to convert from another retailer. In your case, if you're a manufacturer, once that retailer's on board, the transactions are generated pretty automatically. You guys are kind of in the middle, and what I'm enamored with is how you're actually generating the growth, and talk a little bit about that. Prospecting, measurements, anything you're doing to proactively control and measure that growth.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the first thing is that you're right, and then I kind of disagree with you. So so once, to use your example, once Toyota gets the dealership in place, then the dealer has to make the transactions. But there's still something to be said about the expertise of the manufacturer, and I bet you there are things that the manufacturer could do daily to help that dealer's rep sell more Toyotas, whether it be education or walking through features or developing tools or any of the like. But at the very core, I think it's their job. I think it's our job to understand the troubles of the dealer's business. And that's your point. We don't get it. When they're saying we don't get it, what they're saying is you don't get our business, right? You don't get my struggles. I know you want to sell more composite decking, to use your example, but you don't understand the plight that I have. The guy's asking for manufacturer A, and you're telling me to sell manufacturer B. And if I do that, I might lose my job to dealer Z, right? And so there's two things that we really try and teach our sales reps. Number one, Michael called it out. We've made a conscious decision to really primarily and solely deal in exterior building products. It would be very easy for us to choose to get into a multitude of different lines, but then we watered down our salespeople's expertise. And the fact of the matter is that to run a downstream pull through combination strategy with your manufacturer and your dealer, you have to be an expert in the space. So number one, you have to choose not to be a Toyota dealer and a Kia dealer and a BMW dealer and a Range Rover dealer, right? You need to have that, and there are some trade-offs with that. And number two, at the dealer level, you have to realize what their real struggles are and how they can actually be helped. And I think it's important for us to understand that help is defined by the person receiving it, not the person giving it. And so you really have to ask them what they want, because I think a lot of times you say, I'm helping these guys and they don't get it. I know that was a flaw I had when I was working as a manufacturer. I'm saying I'm trying to help, and you find out later behind your back that they're saying, look, this is not what I was asking for. This is not the help I was looking for. And then at the contractor level, I think you have to understand it's a different set of drivers that run their business. So the dealer wants to know that they can place, they have all the access to the information. They have to know that they have dependability in getting their product. They have to know that if there's a quick question, that they're going to have some reliable source to get it. And they're going to have to know that that you're going to be consistent with them. A lot of times the contractor, they want to sell the best product. The best product for them is the product that has a great reputation for durability and reputation, and B, also something that makes them special. And so we really try to talk to the contractor base about not only a great product. We think that that's the ante. We're not going to take on products that aren't fantastic products, but we also want to talk to them about why this is best for their business. And that can be a multitude of reasons. That can be a contractor program. That can be a special advantage in the marketplace. That can be additional education or tools that they wouldn't have otherwise had access to. And I think that when you can effectively talk to the contractor in that light and help them feel special, knowing that we can't sell to every contractor in the nation, we can sell to a select few. Let's choose the ones we want to sell to. Let's choose the best ones, and no different. Let's understand the problems of our dealers, and instead of trying to provide them with help they're not asking for, look for ways that we can help them with problems that they're currently experiencing, to give them the hope and the confidence that we can help them with other problems they might have.
DMSI provides a complete line of business software and mobile apps for LBM dealers. Their Agility ERP system manages every stage of order fulfillment, from online sales and accounting to inventory control and delivery. DMSI's Building Results CRM is designed specifically for the construction products industry. It helps sales teams grow their pipelines and achieve predictable future results. DMSI is an independent, family-owned company known for strong customer partnerships and unparalleled service. Visit dmsi.com to learn more.
What we measure at Sherwood,
and
we incentivize our team to do, we incentivize them to meet with more architects, meet with builders. We put data around that, how often, how many. We have quarterly meetings that discuss some of those data points. We look at their pipeline, and it's the pipeline not only to the retailer, but the pipeline to those contractors, how big of a business they're actually building. Even though the contractor is not our direct customer, we know that if we're doing a good job, that builder will end up going to a retailer. So we're measuring all of those data points to figure out how we're doing as a whole and what we're looking for our projection. So those are just some of them. There's more other things that we're looking closer at. But when you're talking about measurement, we're trying to figure out how we're doing and what types of meetings we're setting up in advance that hopefully perpetuate those wins.
I love that. And Todd, we probably don't disagree. What my comment is that you can get away with mediocrity when you work for the manufacturer. But and it's funny you would say that, because I didn't elaborate carefully myself. But that doesn't mean you're a bad salesman. This is the defensive posture that a manufacturer takes once I say that. Wait, just a minute. That being said, I would like our audience to hear what this and emphasize a very important point. Having your product expertise and walking up to a builder's office and spouting off some features and benefits doesn't make you the great two-step distributor rep. What makes you the great rep is when you're generating leads, bringing demand through the marketplace, helping with the transactional level, which you guys are doing. And I love hearing that, because I think too often we've got retailers. By the way, for the people in the rest of the country, a retailer in New England is what we call an LBM dealer for most of you. It's somebody who sells to the builder, the pro, not the consumer. But I love it. I love your guys' answer there. That's the answer I'm looking for, because I call it transactional dependability. And to your point, supply, demand, create demand. Transactional dependability is just supplying demand, but enhancing transactional dependability, which is what you guys are doing, is creating demand. And I think that your retailers are fortunate to have you guys doing that type of business model. And I think that speaks well for all of our listeners into what a good relationship should look like to that supplier, to a retailer. I love it. Let's talk right now about the gorilla. It was an 800-pound gorilla. Then it became a 1,600-pound gorilla. And now with inflation, it's a 2,400-pound gorilla. What the heck's going on with lumber? And what are you guys seeing people doing to cope with this craziness, this unprecedented craziness?
So, Rick, that's why we joined the podcast. I thought you had the answer.
I do have an answer, but what's yours? I do have some answers, but what are you guys thinking about this? I'll give you guys some thoughts on that.
Todd, mind if I go first?
By all means, please do.
All right. So we can all talk about what's causing it. I think there's a lot of articles. There's a lot of things we're seeing out there. I mean, when it comes down to it, simply put, supply and demand. And COVID definitely sped that or contributed highly to that. So you have on the supply side, not a lot of supply, or not enough supply to fulfill the current demand, which is a reported 1.8 million housing starts, plus all the R&R work that's being done all over the country because of COVID. So you look back to March of last year, and you had basically shutdowns across the country of all the mills, all the lumber mills, including the retailers, including the home. No one was doing anything March and April. And then who would have known that in June, everyone would be looking at their homes and they would start renovating, and then people would start moving out of cities into suburbs, and the millennials would start looking to buy now. And all of that pushed the demand up, while at the same time, the lumber mills weren't quite ready and weren't ramping up as quick as they anticipated, because no one expected a housing boom to begin during the COVID downturn. And that's what happened. A housing boom came. They're trying to catch up. And at the same time, while trying to catch up, they only have so much supply. They're still trying to catch up even today. And then you layer on top of that a bunch of other issues: transportation, trucking, labor. So the labor is hard. So no one has enough labor to get all the supply chain all the way through the supply chain, or all the material through the supply chain. Trucking, like I said, railroads, all this affected and spurred it up. And now we're at this point where it's a frenzy, where everyone's trying to cover the jobs that they had promised, trying to find the material that they need. We're in high building season, so everything's full force right now, and we're at an extreme level. That is, it seems like there's no lumber out there. You're never going to find lumber out there, but over time, things do settle. The equilibrium will be found between supply and demand more supply will come on, demand will slow down. People will spend their money not on their home, but on traveling and other things as COVID ends. So it's a great question. No one knows exactly when it's going to go back to normal, but it will. It always does find the mean. We may have some inflation built into there, so the average price that we had over the past 30 years may be a bit higher once we look back over the next couple of years. But we're definitely at a crazy point right now where it can't see, the train doesn't seem to stop.
Spoken like a true economist.
So I'll tell you.
Wait, Todd, you know what they say? And by the way, I'm an economics major. I consider myself an economist. If you line all the economists end to end around the planet, they'll come to no conclusion. What you got, Todd? Go ahead, babe.
So I'll tell a couple of things. Going to my first 3 years here, when people asked me what I did, and I said, we mainly sell lumber, that's typically where the conversation stopped. Like, it was never, lumber's never been so exciting. I was at my kid's baseball game, and the dads are talking about lumber. We're at we're at like local like social events, and people are talking about lumber. So it's certainly relevant. It's crazy to me that it's relevant. I think Michael hit it on the head. Look, the fact of the matter is that in March and April of 2020, we thought the world was ending. Right? There was a lot of fear, and when we get scared, I think it's very natural that we look back to historical precedents to tell us what's going to happen. And the last time we fell into a depressive state was 2008. And the reason that we went into a little bit of a recession, or a lot of a recession, was the housing bubble. And so it was very, very commonsensical to think that the bottom was going to fall out again, because that's what happened the last time. Only this time, that's not what caused it. And construction remained essential. And while it seems totally logical now, if you can't work from your office and you have to work from home, do you think you demand more space? Do you think you're going to build out? If you don't want to hang out indoors and you want to hang out outdoors, I mean, you're probably going to redo your deck. You're going to probably do an addition. And if you're not going on those 2 or 3 vacations a year, do you have disposable income? And the answer to all of those is like, yes. And just saying that out loud doesn't sound so crazy. It just happened to be a perfect storm. And Mikey's 100% correct. This is a commodity-based sale, right? So supply and demand directly dictate. And right now, at the onset of COVID, you had a lot of mills shut down and furlough and get disrupted, and demand continued to go up, 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 and the market wasn't ready for it. And I do think that you will normalize. I do agree with Mikey. And maybe normalizing is still, at the end of the day, higher than where it has been over the last 5-year average, but definitely lower by a lot today. But I don't think we see that until maybe next year. I think that there's still a lot of catch up that has to take place. And I'm not going to try to be the one to outguess the market. It does things that I never get right, and I'm not that good at it anyways to start. But I think as a net, everyone's saying why. And when you speak to it in those terms, it's like, well, of course that's why. And so we're just experiencing, we're at the pinnacle of it right now. And I think it's gotten to a point, no matter what you're doing, a kitchen, a deck, an addition, a new house, you're just feeling it in all forms and passions.
Yeah. What are you hearing from your retailers? What are they telling you? What types of pressure are they putting on you? What are you hearing about their ways of coping with the contractor, if anything?
There are copious amounts of stress, right? I think that for the last 10 years, the dealer base in terms of lumber have become very accustomed to a just-in-time market, and that's been great. I think that everyone is vastly aware that lumber is expensive. I think they're vastly aware that it's hard to come by. And I think there are some that are frustrated. I think there's some that are nervous, and I think that the uncertainty makes things hard. The number one thing I can tell, whether you deal with Sherwood Lumber or any lumber wholesaler, is the wealth of information that our people have as to where the market's heading and what's undervalued and what's overvalued. That's where the value is. No different on the specialty side on bringing the leads and bringing the programs and the additional value-added tools. There are some incredible things that we can do from a forward pricing perspective. there are some incredible things that we can do in terms of consultation. And so the number one thing that the guys who are less frustrated, because I think everyone's frustrated, that are less frustrated, they're less confused, they're using their lumber salespeople and the wholesale level as guides who are in it every day, who are talking about it every day, and are going through problems with them. Our salespeople that are helping those dealers with real solutions, I think that's the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think at some point, as the weather starts to hit and demand starts to slow down, things will begin to ease back in. But in the next 6 months, talk to your lumber salesperson, ask them where they think the market's headed, and ask them where there's potential opportunity. Because no different than a market that's plummeting, there's opportunity in every market. There's a place for all of these guys to make a lot of money, help a lot of customers out. I think that in this particular market, it's unprecedented in the sense that many of them have not been through something like this.
Nobody has been. It's never happened like this before.
But my point is that there's been lots of markets that have gone up. There's lots of opportunity to find, and there's certain tools that you can utilize, and that's what we recommend.
What say you, Michael? What have you been hearing from your dealers? Not just about their frustrations, but what are they doing about it, if anything?
Right now, as a general matter, they're scrambling. That's like that. Everyone's scrambling. Everyone's trying to cover their needs. Everyone's been just hustling to try to get it done. We're in an industry that doesn't think long term. They think about selling first, and then how am I going to buy the lumber I just sold, rather than buying the lumber first and selling it and locking in for the long term, selling against that, or locking in your profits at the same time. And so there's a big scramble, and especially, and the scramble just gets magnified as this price discrepancy is crazy from where they sold it at to where they have to buy it at. So it's a race to find the material. I know a lot of lumber yards have been usually you give a price and it's good for a month or good for 2 weeks or a week. Now prices are good for that hour. They don't have they're changing prices as quickly as we're changing prices, as quickly as the mill is changing prices. So everyone's just trying to be as proactive as possible. I do know some lumber yards that have thrown in the towel. They've got some smaller, even some larger ones have gotten out of lumber temporarily, or just minimized their footprint because they're just unable. They're not in a position to deal with the stress and the risk that it's posed to them. Some have gone all in and made an effort. So you have different reactions to different places based on their, I guess, understanding of the market and then risk tolerance of what they want, where they want to be and what they want to do. I can tell you from what we're doing internally and what we do with our customers is over communicate, because in a time like this, with a stressful, emotional time, it's all about communication and sharing as much information as possible, because we're pretty much in the same place as these retailers. Everything's new to us as well. So it's really just about staying close, sharing all the information that and talking as often as possible. And that goes for internally as well. We talk a lot internally because we have a lot of different people around the country who know lots of different information. And when we get to share it, it helps our customers that much better. And when we help our customers, we probably help their customers because they have to communicate with their customers as well. So, in a situation like this, the best you could do is communicate, because no one really knows the answer or what exactly to do. But if you have some information, at least it helps.
Okay. I got an answer.
Let's hear it. That's why I came.
You want it, Todd?
Literally, that's the only reason we're on this podcast right now.
All right. I'm cutting that out. Come on. All right. No, seriously. There's copious amounts of stress, and I'm not sure why. Oh my gosh, the market's booming. Oh my gosh, people are demanding your goods. Oh my gosh, they can't get it fast enough. Oh my gosh, the price is rising and they're not even balking at it. Oh my gosh, you're busy. Well, how about being a hotel cleaner? How about working in the service industry? How about being a restaurant waiter? How about that? That's stress. How about being somebody working in a hospital dealing with COVID patients all day long? How about being an EMT, being called out to deal with people? How about that stress? Having to cope with too much business is fun. Number one. Number two, I thought I teed you guys up, and I don't know how I asked my question. I want to go back and replay this. The answer is to not necessarily lead with lumber. That's what your specialty products are for. Sell more of those out. I loved what you said. Communicate, over communicate. We're not just seeing lead times and pricing outrageous on lumber. It's everything. But when we see window lead times going out 6-8 weeks or 30, not exaggerating that, by the way, millwork, doors going out 10-12 weeks, everything, rebar going out of sight, products you don't carry, obviously. But I think the number one thing to remember, and Todd, you'll love this because you said it before in a different way, we've got to help our customers succeed. And any builder that balks at timing or the price, they're balking at timing because they didn't plan well. So you've got to take orders ahead of the curve. And if they're balking at the price, it's because they don't know how to sell the increase, and you have to help them do that. Right? To your point, Michael, you're seeing guys with 24-hour pricing. We've seen that. So love your answers, by the way. I'm being a smart aleck when I say that, but I think the answer is to not just think about lumber, but to think about the whole package. And this is where you guys come in, right?
No doubt. Look, I do think that you made a good point where there's no such thing as lumber ambulances because there's no real such thing as lumber emergencies. But but the fact of the matter is that I think unknown is scary, and so to kind of simplify it, right? Where you called it out. Everyone's dealing with things that they don't know the answer to, and when the crystal ball is a little blurry, forth comes fear.
Yeah. And again, I'm being kind of flippant for anybody out there. I get it. This is a tough time in the world. And I think the power we can bring to the table, and you two exude, there's a sensitivity, a strategic thought process that you guys have. And I admire that look, we don't have to freak with everybody, but we can actually figure out the best coping mechanisms there are, right?
Yeah.
That's where the opportunity lies, I think, at the end of the day. And that's what, Michael used our mission earlier of "We'll be there." We take that very seriously, and that's in up markets and in down markets, and when your kid has a baby, and any other life event that you have. And so, Mikey's showing our shirt and onesies.
Oh my gosh, you guys! I wish you could see this. Let's go ahead, Todd.
No, by all means, Scott. I'll let you. I'll let you crescendo.
Oh my gosh, Michael is showing us the Sherwood Lumber onesie for the infant. It's "We'll Be There." That is fantastic. Sorry to interrupt you. That was too precious. I wish this was a video.
But the general concept, the reason that we came out with that, just to circle back, is when we surveyed our customers about what they liked about us and why they buy from us. Their comment was, "You guys are there, and that you don't opportunistically come in and out of the marketplace." And there has not been a better moment in history to really showcase that, because as other two-step distributors who have the option of wholesale lumber to back out and exit the marketplace and come back in at more opportune moments, Sherwood chooses to be there in all markets. And I know that that's a huge value to our customers. And so we really try to emphasize that.
Well, I'm going to say this, and thank you guys so much. I thank DMSI for sponsoring this. The Sherwood Lumber has got it together. I've known you guys for years, love what you guys do. And Todd, you wrote one of my tips. So when I publicize this, people are going to see you use the word copious. There's copious amounts of stress. And in my notes as I prepared for you guys, I'm like, how are people preparing in this bat crap crazy? I love that word, bat crap crazy market. And now my tip's going to be, we need copious amounts of coping instead of copious amounts of stress. How do you like that, Todd?
The more, yes, I like that very much.
You two get the last word. Thank you so much for being here. Todd, what are your last thoughts?
What are my last thoughts? Market is crazy. It won't be like this forever. Keep a calm mind, understand that there's people in the business that want to help you out. And at the end of the day, what we do is helping people. And I think that if you have that as the forefront of your mind, we're going to do some real good things out there.
Awesome. What say you, Michael?
Something you said just before, this is fun. This is a lot of fun. And we are blessed. We're all blessed to be in this industry because, like you said, what if you worked in a restaurant, or what if you worked in a movie theater or connected to those industries? Your last year was was nothing. It was very stressful. You were figuring out how to live your life. We were figuring out how to get material to the customer. So this is fun. It's challenging. It's unique, but we have lots of customers. We have a boom in front of us. Approach it with a good mentality. It is fun. Communicate with your customers. Communicate with your vendors. Be honest. Be transparent, and everything will work itself out if you have that mentality.
And everybody out there, for Pete's sake, stop whining about the shortage of help. There's people out of work that were waiters and worked in the movie industry and clean hotel rooms. They want jobs. Go find them, damn it. Peace out, brothers. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
I sure hope you're enjoying the content that we deliver in these LBM Journal podcasts. If you're liking them, then you'll like more information you can get at my online learning platform, Building Leaders 24/7, the sales learning platform exclusively designed for the construction products industry. There, you will find content for every member of your organization, how to build a better customer experience, how to communicate better with your internal customers and teammates. You'll see courses on selling effectively to builders and architects and the various audiences of our industry. Ultimately, it is a website and a platform that helps you increase the profitability for your company. And if you are an executive or a manager for that company, you will have the ability to assign courses and track progress of your members. So for more information on the state-of-the-art sales learning platform for our industry today, visit buildingleaders.com or just email me, Rick Davis, at buildingleaders.com. We're here to help and drive you to fearless sales leadership.